Hello, Rick. How's it going?
Cesar, another week, another podcast.
Another couple of experiments, and this one, I guess we can start with. We have new toys, not ourselves yet, but just announced. There is the Mac Studio. Are you gonna order one of those?
Man, mm,
That's
it's
probably a
like
yes.
it's like I want one, but I don't know exactly how I would use it. I have some ideas, but I'm a laptop guy, I like my work stuff on my laptop so because I'm kind of ADD. Like if I'm at my office here for a couple days, I start getting stir crazy and I can't focus. So then I got to go to a coffee shop or I got to go to whatever, and I can do that for a
Okay.
couple days. But then even then, it doesn't matter if it's loud or quiet. It doesn't matter. I can focus, except if I do it too many days in a row, then I can't. I can come back here or whatever. So man, like I would hate to buy something like that and then be stuck at a desk and using as a primary thing. If I did a lot of video editing and stuff and it was like my editing
Mm-hmm.
rig or whatever, I think that would make a lot more sense for me. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So
All right. So you okay? So you're on the move. I guess, yeah, I guess it doesn't make sense unless you're planning to run some sort of um, farm of applications within the computer for your own development. But it's a
right.
tough thing. Like I
So I mean,
thought I
would you
was.
use it? Like if I bought you one with 128 gigabytes of RAM, um, like how would you use it?
So I first of all, I don't go to coffee shops as often as you, although I do need them from time to time. Like
Mhm,
once a week, once every 2 weeks, I gotta get out of my office.
mhm.
But I can do most of the stuff here. And my original plan was to buy a iMac 27 and have like a nice only one here, and then have a
Okay.
laptop for traveling. Right. That's why my MacBook went from 16 to 14 inches. But that didn't happen. They just released the Mac Studio with the display, and we're going to talk about the display a little bit. But I do not. I'm quite happy with my computer. It's an M1 Max, and it runs everything I need. So it's hard for me to imagine. But if you were to give me one, I'll put it over here, maybe on the bottom. I don't know if I like the design. It's kind of ugly. It's just like a tall shoe, like a tall Mac, or like a Mac Mini with a hat. Um,
Right.
but I mean, I work on applications that have microservices, but then again, most of the work stuff is in the work computer, so I wouldn't use my personal for that one. I'll probably put some editing in this video for our podcast, and that's the most I'm gonna do for it. But then I don't know. It's just it seems hard to justify it just in general. I don't think I
Mhm.
have the need for it, and I don't think
So
probably
so what
yeah.
about so we know Thomas. Thomas was a former coworker of ours. He mentioned that he could run, and he's right. You could run like a whole network topology with 128 gigs of RAM and everything, and run multiple Kubernetes things, clusters, and all sorts of stuff. Like, what would you do something like that? That's interesting. That's an interesting premise.
See, I run. I don't run that many containers in my house.
In
I
my
have
house, I don't run many
just
containers in my house.
just like in my house. I mean, I run them on the cloud, but I don't know if I will have a good. Like, I will try to fit the hammer and try to find nails, which I'm not sure it's the right thing to do. I do
Mhm.
have one Synology as my backup, and that can run Docker. So if I think I've run one or two containers there for some services with HomeKit, but
Okay.
that's about it, right? So I don't. I mean, development wise, maybe, but my computer can do all of that without. Well, I have 64 gigs of RAM, but I don't need the 128. You can do it, yes, you can, but then your network is going to be limiting all of that. It's interesting. But containers, but how like do you? use containers at all these days?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. So I definitely don't use them as much as I used to. I used to just like exclusively, it's all these different containers and, using either Docker Swarm or Docker Compose for development and, all that kind of stuff. But maybe it's like the older I get, the less I want to have to mess with that stuff. So, I still use them, but it's not nearly as many. Um, I try to, especially when it's simpler development, like if it's a mobile app and then an API or an API and a web app or a couple APIs or whatever. Um, I try to use platforms that do all that for me as much as possible. So like Vercel is a good example, or Next.js. So you got React, but you also got the APIs with it. Um, and it kind of does all that for you. So if I can get away with that, I would much prefer that than having to worry about local containers and local networks and all the different images and the proper things you have to expose and all that. I try to avoid that as much as possible.
The layers of images. And I mean, the
Yeah,
whole idea of
right.
containers was, okay, you want to have exactly the same thing that it is running on your computer. You want to have it wherever you deploy it, right? So that was the whole premise. And you
Yeah,
will
that was
build
the
your
promise.
containers.
That was the
Yeah.
promise.
And it's still, I mean, I my M1 Mac will compile an image. I'll try to deploy it in a cluster in AWS on an EKS. It doesn't work right
Right.
out of the box unless I enable multiple architectures when like build X or something like that.
Yep.
Which then again, now I'm creating this huge image for multiple things, and now the goal of having one that's not. So maybe I would just go back to a GitHub Actions and let it build and deploy over there. So I'm with you on that. And then what you mentioned about Vercel is interesting because those are the platforms that are winning, right? AWS, Azure, all of those, they have these big services, but I don't know anybody that actually knows 100% what they're doing on AWS because there are
I don't
so
think
many
AWS
things
knows what AWS is doing. You just go to their documentation site and you can,
like
that's
security
true.
groups and all the different things that you gotta put and the different EC2 is the least of your worries these days,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
There's all sorts of things and platforms that are taking that complexity. You just sign up on Vercel. There is a button that you can click in a GitHub repository that says deploy to Vercel. It creates a copy, it deploys it, and then you don't have to do anything. So,
Yeah.
which goes back to probably what we were talking about in episodes from last year, which is can you go and use your iPad for coding, which we know we can't, right? There are ways to do it, but it's
Right.
definitely more troublesome than fast. Like you're not getting a lot of benefits. It's just the fact that you can run on your iPad.
Hmm.
But it is hard. Like, and those platforms are really, really um, addressing a need, which is all our needs as developers. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
no,
like
back to you.
Kubernetes is a perfect example. It's so stinking complicated, and you end up. I was joking at a past company with some of the back end engineers. It's like, are you really a data engineer or are you just a configuration engineer? Like, is that really what you are? Is you're a YAML engineer? Is that what it is? I know that's derogatory and that's not
Yeah,
helpful. I don't mean it in a it was a joke, between
yeah.
friends, but um it is one of those things. It's like you spend 80-90% of your time goofing around with configurations, and they can get really complex because we know configuration is complex over convention and stuff like that. Um, so like Kubernetes, man, like I know some people love it, but I do not like how Um, I mean, there's all these companies that have been basically their value is we do all this stuff so you don't have to touch this, right? I mean, Vercel to a degree is that.
Hmm.
Um, and then you've got other ones like Pulumi is a good. Have you used Pulumi
Yeah,
before?
I have.
So it's an interesting premise. And there is like configuration nightmare. So we'll let you code. We'll use convention to do it, which is kind of funny because it's like you're coding, but you're also still using configuration objects you're passing into the function. So it's kind of like you're still
Mhm.
configuration, but you can script it a lot easier than you can Terraform and stuff. So it's just funny, like you build something to solve something, and it creates a whole industry to fix all the problems that it creates.
And only a handful of companies that are the ones that are abstracting, like Vercel and others, those are the ones that are actually benefiting. Those are the ones that contribute to the open source project.
Mhm.
Obviously, on the enterprise, Red Hat and all the different distributions are having their own layers. So it's also neat, but it's not for everybody. Yes, I mean, unless you're building your own enterprise platform, and you want to have control and you want to be able to deploy on AWS and on Azure
Mhm.
and stuff like
Mhm.
that, then I mean, for all, like, go for it. Pulumi, Terraform, whatever you want, Ansible. But other than that, it doesn't make sense. So um, I'm with you there. Containers in Kubernetes is cool, but it's not for everybody, and probably it's for 20% of the people that are actually using it. But hey, I'm pretty good at creating my own YAMLs.
YAML man. Yeah. I mean, seriously, I've seen countless startups and friends and other companies that work, friends that work in other companies. They're like, oh, we got to do our Kubernetes thing and this, that, and the other. And they spend so much time just getting it to work, maintaining it. And it's
It's a
like all these
trap.
promises like, oh, work on your app and not your back end and not your platform or whatever. And it's like that's garbage. Like most of the folks I know are working on Kubernetes are not actually working on their app. I know some people are gonna like fry me for that. And that's not true, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. Good for you. But definitely in what I've seen is that it creates a lot of distractions, I think.
Yeah, unless you really know what you're doing, then it's probably a waste of time, especially for small companies.
Right.
Um, I have a platform that runs at least 6 microservices, and just using GitHub Actions and deploying to AWS, and it works. But I know I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to use the latest and greatest from Kubernetes. It's just a couple of YAMLs, and it deploys, it updates the image, and my service is up and running, right? And I have some sort of ingress controller, and that's it. It works because I do that on a daily basis, and that wasn't a big deal.
Hmm.
And I can package it in something like Helm, and then have it up and running. Which Helm might be a good. I'll have to do that soon, so it might be a good episode to talk about, like, how do you take multiple um, Kubernetes objects and make it an application, right? So you can deploy
Right.
anywhere. That would be a good one. Okay, all right. I do want to talk about the Apple Studio display, the
Mm,
monitor.
yeah.
Um,
It looks nice. Looks very
it
nice.
is a 5K. I think you mentioned the panel is not new, which we all know, but it is
Hmm.
Apple branded and probably better than the LG. So the question is, did you order one?
You know, so I actually did, but then I ordered the one with the nano texture and I wasn't really thinking and I just kind of click, 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 order it really quick. And I actually ordered it with the variable height stand.
Yeah.
And so afterwards I started looking at it. I'm like, oh my goodness, the stand is an extra $400. Are you kidding me? So I started like questioning what I did. And then on top of that, I read about the nano texture on the XDR display and the cleaning woes. Apparently it's a pain in the butt to clean. Um and there's all sorts of videos on showing that. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to deal with that. So I canceled it thinking I could order the cheaper one or the base model. Well, it's like I don't know, end of April or May or something like that. I've got to wait a couple months now for it. So I'm like, ah. So I'm waiting. I can't wait to see the reviews in the next couple days and see what happens. What about you?
I did order one as well, and I just went with the standard glass and the standard non adjustable stand. I figure for $400 I can buy as many books as I want to, just put them underneath. and make it the right height. So, um,
That's great. Just go to the
but
library. It's free. Just rotate them out every once in a while.
so I can have my own decoration there. No, I mean, there were a couple of things about that stand that I didn't like. One is it does look like the panel will be closer to you, and that's something that I don't like. I wanted to have as far from me
Mm,
as possible in my desk.
yeah.
And then the vase is a little bit bigger. So
Hmm.
I figure if I really need to adjust the height or it is too small, then I can put some sort of shelf where I can put my computer underneath, and then I'll have the two, my current monitor plus that one,
Right.
and then everything will be good. So I didn't see the need for that, and I'm not into BESA
Hmm.
arms. I just I think it's very cubicle kind of thing. I know it gives you a lot of flexibility on your heights, but I like my
That's a good
desk
point about the
vertically.
cube. I never thought about that, but you're totally right. That it is a very cubical feel to it, huh? Wow, now I got a new way to look at those mounts. That's a great point.
Every office that you go, you're probably gonna see one of those there.
Yeah, and they're
I
like
mean,
these huge industrial giant. They weigh a
it's
hundred
all
pounds. They weigh
it's
more than
all
the
black and
monitor.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
not cool. So so that's what I order, and it should be here in a couple of days.
All right. So you have to let me know how it is because I don't know. I've got this LG. I don't know what is it, 34 inches or something. It's a 4K HDR. Blah 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 blah. And it's a really nice monitor. It's actually like $1,400 on Best Buy, and I just happened to be in Best Buy, and they had somebody returned it, and it was like brand new. They returned it, and I got it for $650, so like half off. Um, so it's kind of like, I mean, it's a great monitor. It doesn't have like the camera and the cool audio spatial Dolby Atmos or whatever they use, speakers built in, and it doesn't have that cool stuff that the Apple one does, but it's what
but
these are for.
yeah, I guess you have that cover. Yeah, I think um that's a good point. Like it's not a new one. Like I did question myself if I was just buying it because Apple made it. I do think that it is like I will use the speakers. I
Mhm.
currently have a couple of HomePod minis pair in stereo, but just I mean the broadcasting to it from the computer is just
Yeah. Yeah, you'll
it's
get
not
lag
fun.
on the home pods. At least with this the studio display, you'll get real time, and they'll have that spatial audio thing built into it, which is pretty cool actually.
And the HomePods work better with iOS than with macOS. So
Mhm.
I'll
Right.
just put my iPad and that's the music, and then it's like okay, I can remove all of that in and still have the monitor. The camera, I mean, I just have this camera which I think it's pretty good, but we'll see how the other one compares. The next video is probably going to be recorded on that, unless there are some big delays,
Mhm.
and we'll see how it looks. But the other thing that you can do is go to an Apple store or a Best Buy, and on day one or day two, and see if they have anything on stock, because there might be some. Um,
Oh, really? You think they would do that? You think they have them on stock?
I think you told me that's how you bought your MacBook Pro, right? They were back order, and
Actually,
then
you're right. That's a great point. I got it at Best Buy that way. Yeah, I just kind of walked in there and they had one. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
so they might have like everybody is ordering online, so they might have something, um, which might be a good thing to try. You will let me know.
Right.
Um, All right, all right. But okay, so today we have a quick friction log on a product that I think I like the previous name better. Oh my SMTP. Now it's called MailPace, and it's something that you have been using, and I think we have been using on the Stack at Friction log. So tell
Mhm.
me about it. What it is? What is
Yeah,
MailPace?
we're using a microplatform.dev. Actually, I do wonder. I haven't read their blog post on why they changed their name, but oh my SMT kind of sounds like it won't scale. Like if you're trying to be a messaging service and have webhooks and email and whatever, SMT. The problem is that's bound by the technology, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're buying. But so I assume that's why they changed it to MailPace. But who knows? I haven't read again. I haven't read their blog, so I don't know why, but I can imagine that. Um. Anyway, so it's basically an email messaging service. So it's like transactional email. Um. What are some of the like SendGrid and
That's what I was going to ask. I think SendGrid was bought by Trello, but it's the same. Like basically, you get here's your SMTP address, and here's your API key and your
yeah,
password, and then you can send emails, and that's
exactly.
it.
It's the
Yep.
same exact concept,
Okay.
identical. So it's a developer tool. So it's for developers implementing transactional email. And I mean, it works great. It's one of those things where like Mailgun and Mail. What are they? There's a billion of them. I don't remember what they
Mm-hmm.
are, but they get to a certain size, and then you're like, it's just like complicated now, or it's this big thing, or it's like talk to a sales guy, whatever. Um,
Very marketing driven as well, right? Like I
yes,
think I use for my blog in Spanish, I think I use MailChimp, and it's all
yeah, oh
like,
yeah.
oh, build these campaigns and build, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
It's
no,
like
I just
so
want to.
heavy on all those features. And it's like, and then the pricing includes this. It's like, yeah, it's because you're marketing to a non-technical marketing person. And I just need a tool for a platform, not a marketing like platform for marketing people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
totally right. That's exactly right.
Okay. All
so
right. So
so so it's just super simple. Um and it's actually even simpler than the ones that are geared for developers, I think, which is kind of cool. I can't even remember exactly how I heard it. I think might have heard it somebody talking about it on Twitter or something, and that's how I found out about it. So
okay. So all right. So we talk about the market and some of the things it compares to. It's definitely interesting because I'm telling you, I use Mailchimp, and it was the easiest thing to configure with WordPress. But I'm thinking that blog has to be rebuilt because that's how you start a new cadence of blog posts, right? Like anybody that is a developer and has a blog, it's like, oh, I haven't written in a while. I should probably go and start typing. And then you see the platform that you're using, and you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna rewrite this before I start writing, and then I'll probably give it a try as well on the other end. So, okay, does it has like a free tier, or do you gotta pay? Like, how does that work?
yeah, it's like I think it's a trial or something. I can't remember exactly. It's been a month or so, or maybe a little more than that since I started using it. So a couple months. So I don't remember the exact pricing on the free thing, um, but it's very reasonable pricing, and it actually makes sense. It's pricing that kind of makes sense because that's the thing with Mailchimp. It's like they like, oh, you got 2,000 new subscribers. You're in a new tier that's $300 a month. Oh, you got another 2,000 subscribers. You're in a new tier that's like $10,000 a month. It's kind of silly. Doesn't matter if you use it or not. So that's annoying. But with MailPace, it's pretty straightforward, I think.
Okay, I see it here. It has a solo plan that where you can send 1,000 emails per month. It has the sending API, uh, email delivery acceptance tracking,
Hmm.
unlimited domains, from addresses, team members, webhooks, automated bounds management, automated block list, active anti-spam, email tagging, 30-day retention, detailed documentation, and email support. So that's a pretty good start. Like it's not bad.
Yeah, it's a great start. Yep.
And mail delivery is one of the things that you never want to cheap out on. Like if you get put, your domain gets put in some sort of a spam list, it's going to take you a lot to get out of them. So you
Pain in the
might,
butt.
yeah, you should definitely pay for that. Okay, interesting. All right, so you know the format, right? We have the lights, frictions, and blockers, right? And we typically start with the onboarding process. So,
Yep.
to the best of your recollection, how was the onboarding?
So first thing is what still stands out to me, and I've done this a couple months ago now, is that I think I was in like 2 or 3 minutes. I timed it. It was less than 3 minutes, 2 minutes ish. And honestly, the I think the most time consuming thing was I had to enter in the payment info up front. So that was it. Um, and I didn't use my Google, how like Google Chrome pops, oh, use your credit card. I didn't use that. So on purpose. So yeah, you're like click, boom, done. You're in. And then, of course, like with any service like this, now the next step is you got to verify your domain and you got to verify this, that, and the other, and
The
SKF
DNS bit.
records and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's pretty straightforward. I did it and it worked instantly. Just boom, done. So that was cool. That was nice. It wasn't, how some of these services, especially the older ones, were like, oh, thank you for entering your information. It could take 48 hours, blah, 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 blah. Which I think was probably still true with MailPace or Oh My SMT, depending on who you're using and all this other stuff. But the experience was just like, boom, it worked. So that's great.
Okay, fair enough. They have an. I was just looking at it. They have an npm package, and they have a,
Hmm.
I guess, a Ruby on Rails
Yeah, and a PHP thing, and then they've got the course their HTTP
gem.
endpoint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, PHP, and then of course HTTPS and SMTP server. All
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
That looks. They're out of the UK. Okay. Interesting. Very simple approach, very simple web page. I like it. Okay, onboarding was nice.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
domain verification. I'm with you. It used to take a lot of time for the DNS to replicate. I
Right.
think nowadays it's just
So
everybody
fast.
keeps that message, right? It's like my complaint. I think I have complained on Twitter about this, about when you unsubscribe from newsletters, right? That it says, "Oh, it may take up to 2 weeks to
It's like, what are
remove."
you
And like,
using a mainframe for your, like, it's like, what on earth?
that happens. So I still complain about that. I mean, it doesn't make sense. There are probably active campaigns, but I mean, there is nothing really preventing you to remove me from that distribution list, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
As soon as possible. So I like that approach. Domain verification, that should be easy. Okay, so now you're in. You put your credit card. So now you gotta create, I guess, or your domain or your from address
Hmm.
and some examples. How was that part?
Right. Yep. Actually, it's pretty straightforward. You kind of get in, and like normally, you kind of click around to explore, and everything was like very clear. This is what this is. This is what this is. It wasn't convoluted, I would say, at all. Um, the I th- One of the notes I wrote down was on the docs. So they have this example tab where you can like see example code, and it's kind of like this long page of like, here's a PHP snippet, here's a node snippet, here's a whatever snippet. It's this long page that has that, which is nice, by the way. It's nice and it's simple. um Maybe arguably it could look a little better, but I think in the stage they are as a company, whatever, like, it doesn't matter. um However, I will say that I was assuming there was a doc link somewhere. Like, I didn't see the example. I didn't understand what that was per se. I was just like, "Where's the doc?" You know how like almost all these developer SaaS tools, there's up in the top right it says docs. You're looking
Mm-hmm.
for it. So that's like the Jacob's law. I was like looking for that, like every other site, um, and it was not there. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a link down there for docs, and that's where you get to it. Now, maybe they don't want you to go there. Maybe that's why they have the example tab in the interface so you can go right there, because it's really that simple. You just go there. Like in my case, I was using Node, so it's just npm package boom done go. Um, but it doesn't matter. Jacob's law. I was expecting it, and
And
so
this is back when it was all my SMTP, right? Because I'm looking at the
yes,
MailPace webpage right now, and now it has a menu that says blog, docs, pricing, sign in. That's it, right?
yeah, but that's not on the that's on the marketing page, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about in the admin when you're
Oh,
logged
okay.
in, you're
Okay.
set
So
up.
after you're in. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and yep, there it is. You have to go down to docs on the bottom.
Huh. You gotta be logged out then. But the docs are very, very simple.
Yeah. Yeah, they're simple. They're all they need to be to get you going. Yep.
Hmm. And I mean, you don't need more. You can really make a business out of quality email delivery. So it doesn't have to be the next big platform or the next. I hope they don't spin into some sort of, oh, we're going to start adding marketing campaigns and
Oh,
things
yeah,
like that.
exactly. Like, you don't have to be MailChimp, which is this giant bloated it works great, but it's just so bloated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you have examples. All right. So once you had your everything set up, then you had to integrate it into the microdev platform.
Mhm.
So what's going on there? How was your experience?
So, it was quick and easy. I did run into a TypeScript problem. Now, again, this was like 2 months ago now, 3 months ago, so maybe they've updated the package since then. I think I filed a ticket for this, actually, to report it, but, when you import the npm package, their examples show like you're importing the module, and that module has a top level object that's exported. Well, it's not. It's like, for lack of a better term, it's like exports dot domain client instead of just like whatever you want to call it when you import the module, the module name. I can't remember the technical terminology for the differences, but um and so I imported it. It says, hey, can't read property domain client is what I called it. It's undefined. And so what you have to do is you have to import it and then, use the destructuring thing because it's a
Mm-hmm.
property on the main object. So that was not in the docs. The docs were actually wrong. If you copy and paste it, it would give you that undefined. I assume they fixed it. But it was easy. All you like, how VS Code is, you just command click into something and you can see the TypeScript definitions. So as soon as I did that, I'm like, oh, okay, that's duh. I see what happened. And so I just, like, imported it the proper way, and it worked.
Yeah. Now they just ask you to import the main object MailPace, so you don't have to do the destructuring, and then you can create a client, and then you can do send the mail. But
Well, so that's what I was saying. So that's actually how they were doing it before, and it didn't work. You had to
huh,
destructure it. Yeah. The object was on the, like, like exports dot whatever, not it
I
wasn't the
see.
default export um thing.
Huh.
So
That's
now,
very interesting.
maybe
It's changed, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because the npm package is now called add mail pace,
Hmm.
and there is even a page on the docs that says moving from oh my smtp. So we got to do that migration, my friend.
Yeah, I'm
There are a
sure
few
it's
things to change on package names, as well as some of the, if you're using the https library, you got to change the domain and the token header and some of those things. So
got it.
okay, good. All right, so
And then I
that's good.
think, let me open
What
this
else?
up. So I think yeah, so I imported it. And then it's literally just one function call. So we're using it in microplatform.dev just to send a welcome email. It's a transactional welcome email. And it's just a function call, a from to subject, and then an HTML body. And then I'm using that. Have you seen MJML to or MJML? Have you seen that? That'd be a good one to do a
Uh,
friction log on. It's a HTML like DSL, if you will, but it's for mail. And so you write it in MJML tags, and then it kind of just does all of the rendering and figures all that out. So that, because how formatting emails on it's a nightmare. Um, so anyway, I built that MJML thing. Um,
so wait, let me interrupt you there. You don't like YAMLs, but you like MJML?
no, I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying that I like it better than having to write HTML for every mail client out there and it being a pain in the butt.
Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not saying I like it. Um, so anyway, it's basically HTML is what it is. And and so you just drop, because you can export that as a string. So you just drop that in as the HTML body in their client, and then boom, you're done. It's easy.
Nice. Yeah, we should do a friction log on MGML. I think we have it on the list because I have seen it. So that'll be good. Okay. So, and then I think you have a note here about like it would be nice to see what the email looks like instead of the raw HTML.
Yeah, in their
Um,
interface, so they have a log of everything that gets sent, and you can kind of
mhm.
review it and go back and stuff. And it's you can see the HTML that's sent out, but you can't actually see it. It's not rendered. It just looks like it's a
Mm,
bunch of HTML in the interface in the admin. So that admin interface, a lot of that needs a little bit of love.
yeah.
Um,
Like a preview of what you're trying
yeah.
to say or send or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you're always worried about that, right? How it's going to render on Gmail versus the Mail app on Mac versus Outlook on Windows.
Right.
Okay. Nice and easy. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Like any final comments? I think that's all we have on the friction log.
The only other thing that I can think of is I don't recall ever getting an email that they changed their name to MailPace. Maybe they did, or maybe it went to my spam. I don't. Well, that'd be kind of ironic. A mail company, their mail going to spam. I don't know. I don't know, but I all I know is I went to Oh My SMTP, and it was like MailPace, and I'm like, what is this again? So I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that's they changed it early in January 28th of this year, and our original name was just a working name that stuck. As the service has grown and matured, we wanted a name which was easier to understand for non-technical
That
users
is
and
that is
faster to
every sorry, I'm
pronounce.
gonna interrupt. That is every product person's worst nightmare is like, "Oh, this is just our working name," because it always turns into everybody starts calling it that, and then all of a sudden your investors start calling it that, and it's like, "Okay, that's our name." And it's like, "No, that's not what I wanted." It's like I
And they put here that the final straw came when someone assumed we were a toilet paper company. Oh my SMTP.
That's amazing. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I would
Okay.
want to change it too.
Yeah, but yeah, internal names are a thing. Like secret projects and stuff like that is they always come up. They always you always know what the real name was and the code name and
And it's
all
hard to
right.
get rid of it. It's hard to get it out of your head once you name it.
Yeah. All right. That's it for today. Thanks Rick for all the input. We're going to have another one in a couple of weeks and thanks everybody for listening or watching. We will see you next time.
See ya.